All right, and welcome into the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your destination for a refreshing and feel good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. We're back soaking up the rest of the summertime and some early line value as training camps continue into August with our top 8 NFL player props for the over-under stat markets. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, logging some final travel hours this weekend before the ball gets rolling. I got a honeymoon trip up to Boston, and back with me is a man who's been in the lab, putting those hours in there, putting those final touches on his player prop projections. He's Zach McKay, also known as Craze. Craze, how are you this evening? And any final trips for you before the NFL season kicks off, man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's nice, good weather. I'm enjoying it, relishing it up here in Canada. No trips for me prior to the NFL season, unfortunately, although my schedule does revolve around the NFL. My girlfriend's schedule does not, so our next trip's going to be planned in October,
No.
going up to British Columbia out west in Canada. So unfortunately, I couldn't get her to do it before the NFL season, but I'll still be paying attention during the trip.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I have not one, not two, but 3 fall weddings to attend. My college football Saturdays are already shot just like that. And I have already made the proclamation with my wife. Look, apple picking, pie making, Halloween pumpkin carving, it all has to happen on Fridays, late Saturday nights after hours because I can't miss any more ball. Luckily, Sunday is still intact as of now, but we shall see. Gotta the fall weddings, man. Is that a thing up in Canada too? Because like we just gotta put an end to that. Okay, all right.
You're not going out at 0-32 or whatever when you get
Yeah,
into like October. It's just not happening. People like to do their summer weddings here as well. Better
yeah.
weather, less chance of rain.
Yeah, the issue in the spring is the rain. But my thing is like you have 3 months in the summer. Let's get her done, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have 3 months, 12 weekends. Let's figure it out, people. But crazy excited to be here with you on the program nonetheless. And a quick reminder, the easiest way to support the show is go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. And don't forget, subscribe right here to the home of the IBT podcast, the Fantasy Sports Advice Network's Fantasy Football Advice channel. And in addition to the IBT podcast, on this channel, you can check out the Fantasy Forecast, Mike and the boys with some redraft content over there, the Dynasty Pulse, the latest in the Dynasty streets, Too Much Best Ball with Brian, and From the Form with Mr. FSAN himself, Tyler Bradley, live interactive Q&A coming for you every single week. So we'd appreciate you giving those shows a watch and make sure you're supporting the whole channel. Let's go ahead and fire things up here, a little between bets action.
Between bets. Between bets.
Between bets, our favorite top player prop future picks and predictions for the over-unders. And Craze, I have to tell you, I think having this market a part of your card is really, really important heading into the season because when we build out these portfolios and there are multiple outs for stat leaders and awards and even division and Super Bowl tickets, there's only 2 outcomes here. It's over or under. Obviously, you're paying more juice because of that at some particular markets and shops. But at the same time, I feel like this is a place where we can really capitalize and build our bankroll while, some of the other times we're kind of shooting from the hip a little bit more and having to predict in this pool of 20, 30 players, teams, you name it. Here, it really feels straightforward.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, you're not pulling like, is Fernando Mendoza going to be the number 1 overall pick, which is like
Yeah.
4% chance. No, these ones, it's like, it should be pretty close to 50-50 the way these markets and these betting books, they're doing it. They're making it as close as possible. It's like, where can you find the value? For me, when we're looking at these picks, I hate betting unders in general. And when you're looking at these season-long things, a lot of the time, if you're going to be betting an under, it's going to hit because of an injury. And I would rather look at these guys and cheer them on all season. Obviously, an injury probably going to hurt most over bets, but
Yeah.
I'd rather be there cheering them on. I like to enjoy my bets. So my picks today are going to be lots of overs. But there was a lot of value that I found in this market in particular. I was like, why is the line so low?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It didn't feel like you had to really stretch to see these numbers going over. Of course, like you said, the injury risk that is always going to, give the book some of that vig back, right? And that's why they think, hey, maybe we have a little bit of value, even though we're offering some more manageable numbers, right? So it's something to keep in mind if you want to bet unders and have that injury, out in your back pocket. That's fine. I know some gamblers who do that, but for me, I'm kind of with you. I'm more taking an over approach on players that I'm high in fantasy on and players that I'm already invested on in different futures markets as well. So we each have a couple plays here. I have 5, you have 3, and we have 4 in particularly in the receiving market. So I'm going to start us out here because I think this is one of the crazier numbers out there on the board today. It was Tyler Warren over 74.5 receptions, minus 115 at DraftKings. And look, this is a tight end in Tyler Warren who, coming into his second year, comes off a season where he's 23rd in targets in the NFL, third among tight ends as a rookie. 112, like that's a pretty great number. And then at the same time, he cleared this reception number only by 2. Keep that in mind. But he played 4 games without Daniel Jones, 3 of those with old Uncle Phil Rivers, and 1 with Riley Leonard as well. And like that was with Michael Pittman Jr. on this roster. Craze. That's the crazy thing, because Pittman, 111 targets, 80 receptions himself. He's gone. He's left behind Ashton Dolan playing the flanker, a rather frail Josh Downs out of the slot, and Alec Pierce, who will be, of course, in the X. But the thing with Alec Pierce is he's already banged up coming in the season. So for Tyler Warren, if he stays healthy and some of these other parts that are already a little banged up or just underwhelming as a whole, happen, I think there's a good chance we're getting to 74.5 receptions with a multi-unit play for me.
Yeah, I have him projected for 84 receptions in this new look Colts offense. Like you said, that's 10 over where this line currently is at. I think he can miss a few games and still be okay. Daniel Jones can miss a few games. Like you said, he missed games last year and he still hit this mark. For me, when we're looking at what does Daniel Jones look like post-injury, I think it looks like a guy who's trying to throw the ball to his safety blankets more. Jonathan Taylor maybe gets a little bit more involved in the passing game with Daniel Jones. And I think Tyler Warren's that other guy. Josh Downs is great, a UNC guy. I love him. I don't think he can come in and really fill the role of that safety blanket as well as Tyler Warren can. And Tyler Warren as well, if you saw him back in Penn State, he can do everything with the football. So I wouldn't be surprised with maybe not as athletic and as mobile Daniel Jones. Maybe they give him a couple special plays in this offense as well, a couple extra touchdowns going his way. I think that he's a guy that I like for this reception number for sure. And then even in fantasy, he's a guy I'm really high on this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's in that same tier as Colston Loveland for me. I know people have kind of separated them and put Tyler Warren in the second tier of tight ends. I think that is a mistake, but I do have some plays on some more big men later on. But first, Craze, I got to go to you because you're speaking about maybe some underwhelming, unathletic quarterbacks, and that is kind of the crux with your next bet that you have to be able to swallow that pill with.
Yeah, exactly. Tetairoa McMillan, to me, over 925 receiving yards is a great bet. We just talked about Tyler Warren. What did he do? He broke his, he was 74.5, 76 he got in his rookie year. Tetairoa McMillan, what did he do in his rookie year? He had 1,014 yards. His line now, 925. When you look at the way that this offense has to roll, as you said, Bryce Young, he can get it done a little bit on the ground, but he's not a guy who's running all over the place. This offense historically hasn't been a huge big play team. So what does this offense look like? How are they going to move the ball? Obviously, they can run it. I have Tetairoa McMillan projected to take a step forward. I liked what I saw from Carolina's offense last year. I am a Carolina Panthers fan, so maybe Seth will have to keep me in check here a little bit. But Bryce Young, to me, looks like a competent NFL quarterback. I think he can be good. I don't think he's elite. I don't think he's Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, none of these guys who are going to be able to support multiple number one wide receivers, but Tetairoa McMillan finished just outside the wide receiver 1 range last year, and he got 1,000 yards. He takes a step forward this year in this offense. We talked about Xavier Legette previously. He's not the guy. Jalen Coker is there. He's good, and he lines up opposite him. That allows the defense not to just focus on McMillan in the passing game, which I think is important, that Coker is healthy. He missed the start of last year.
He did.
And McMillan really worked well together. Even in that Rams playoff game, both players had big games. So I'm in on Tetairoa McMillan when we're looking at 925 yards. again, even if he misses a couple games, he has a tight hamstring for something for a couple games he misses. I think 925 yards is a very achievable number. And Bryce Young loved him last year. All the reports out of camp have been Tetairoa McMillan. He's more confident in himself and that he's believing and that he looks great on the field and everything's been positive. So for me, I'm in on McMillan. Seth, am I too far into my Panthers fandom or you like this line as well?
I will say you had the entire spread of the board to pick your NFL fandom being from Canada, right? And have no true allegiance. And it was C. Smith, I think you've told me in the past, is why you decided to pick them. So I don't know about that pick, but as far as this pick goes, Tetairoa McMillan, I completely agree with you. When you have an NFL season under your belt, and not only an NFL season, but an NFL playoff game where you went absolutely ham in, that helps the confidence coming into year number 2, right? Chris Brazzell, who was someone I thought who could maybe take the top off this defense, he will miss the entire season. So it really does become Coker and McMillan. We'll see what they can get out of the tight ends there. If Jonathan Brooks is something out of the backfield or if this remains Chuba Hubbard's backfield, we shall see. But I think the one consistent thing you have here is McMillan, right? And there's nothing throwing him off his spot. He commanded a really nice target share right away. I think the biggest thing is, how good is this Panthers defense? Do they take another step forward like many are projecting? If so, maybe it's a little bit, less of a high volume offense, but that's kind of what Tet was dealing with last year, right? And so I don't think, even though I like some of the additions they've made on this defense, I don't think it's enough where, suddenly we're not going to have high volume for Tet, because even if there's 25 passes going around per game, Tetairoa McMillan is going to soak up at least 10 to 12 of those targets. So I'm firmly here with you on T-Mac.
Yeah, and then the Panthers, like you said, maybe their defense is a little bit better this year. Well, unfortunately, the Panthers have one of the hardest schedules in the league. They have the number 1 schedule because they won the division last year. So they play a lot of really good teams. So even if this defense is better, which it should be, you're still looking at, oh my gosh, the Panthers are going to be underdogs in majority of their games.
Yeah.
And they're going to need to throw the ball to win. And I think that's going to go through Tetairoa.
Okay, let's go back to the big men market where, this has to be my favorite feature I've placed all offseason. Tucker Kraft over 4.5 receiving touchdowns, -130 at Caesars. And I think this is like such an easy smash for me because I'm looking out around on FanDuel. I'm looking around on the prediction markets. Well, some of the better books I usually like to get invested with for my futures markets because of the cash out opportunity there. They have like -120 for Kraft to go like 6+ touchdowns, right? A 5.5. I've seen it some other books as well, like -115. So to get 4.5, like sometimes let's just not outthink the room, right? Let's just get the ball through the back of the net. And that's what we're doing here. Kraft had 7 touchdowns in 2024. He had 6 through 7 games last year before getting hurt. Craze. So just insane type of volume there. And while the same time, like I get that touchdowns are not particularly sticky, it's one of the harder stats to predict. Tucker Kraft was 3rd among the position in red zone target share last year, 33.3%. That means 1 out of 3 of Jordan Love's passes inside the 20 were going to Tucker Kraft. And like now I see no reason that will change because like it feels like the receiving options have condensed to here a bit, right? Romeo Doubs, he's now in New England. Dontavian Wicks gets shipped out to Philadelphia. That leaves Kraft, I think, as the like de facto 1A, 1B to Christian Watson, who will be running out of the X. Matthew Golden, we'll see if he can take another step forward in his sophomore season from that flanker role. And then you have Jaden Reed out of the slot, right? So for me, I think Tucker Kraft all the way around. 4.5 feels like a slam dunk. If you want to ladder this up to 6+, try to find a plus money number out there, 7+. I don't hate it either way, but regardless, I'm going to have Tucker Kraft on my card at 4.5 receiving touchdowns for 2026.
Yeah, I like this line. Like you said, he did it in 7 games last year. He had 6 touchdowns. I currently have him on the books for 6 touchdowns this upcoming season.
Okay.
So I think he'll start a little bit slow. Honestly, my number is probably too low, but I do like Jaden Reed out of the slot here for the Green Bay Packers a lot. But I think even then, Tucker Kraft, I already have that baked in where he's going to start slow because of the injury. I think they just won't try and get him overly involved early when they don't need him. This Packers team should be competing to win this division. So I think he's going to have a hell of a run down the stretch. He'll be 100% healthy, and he is their guy. Like you said, Christian Watson, maybe he's the 1A, 1B with Christian Watson. We all know come week 8, Christian Watson won't be on the field, so it won't matter. Tucker Kraft will be that guy. And he's the big body. Like I said, I like Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed is not a big bodied guy. Tucker Kraft had a really good, as you said, red zone target percentage last year when he was on the field. I think that's the same for him this year. So I definitely love this line for Tucker Kraft.
And to your point, maybe a slow start is coming. It very well could, because it's not the most daunting opponents, right? It's the Vikings. You have to go to Minneapolis there, 4:25 Eastern on that first Sunday of the season. But at the same time, like, it might be JJ McCarthy under center. It might be a Kyler Murray is not impressed in training camp so far. And then week 2, you got the Jets and then the Falcons, right? And I've always thought, like, without Micah Parsons, they can continue to keep things rolling there in Green Bay. But like, at the same time, those are not defenses that scare me either, that I think Tucker Kraft couldn't, maybe he doesn't go out and have 5-6 receptions in those games, but maybe he can find the end zone, play inside the 20, get the big man scoring one there. So
yeah, and on those games as well, Watson and Reed, who have both struggled with injuries, they'll be healthy for the first few weeks as well. So it's not, again, wait for them. They'll be healthy, ease Tucker Kraft back in. Maybe he can score, as you said. And then that even helps you. He scored. He wasn't on the field all the time. And now you only need a couple more touchdowns throughout the rest of the season. It's a good play.
One more tight end player prop for me in the over-unders. Give me Chig Okonkwo over 50 or 500.5 receiving yards, -115 at Caesars. 50 would have been a crazy line, but that's just not what this guy was averaging last year, because he has now had at least 450 receiving yards in each of his 4 seasons, including as a rookie, dude. And that includes crossing this 500-yard line twice. Last year being with a fired head coach after a couple weeks. He really was splitting reps with Gunnar Helm pretty much the entire season, and also Cam Ward, a rookie, which can help or hurt depending how you look at things. Now he gets his most competent quarterback he's ever played in J.D. Honey here, Jaden Daniels, and also at the same time, like, by all accounts that I'm hearing out from the nation's capital, he is the number 2 receiving option for the Commies right now. Antonio Williams, he might make a spark. Debo has moved on to San Francisco. Not sure if we do get a Stephon Diggs sighting maybe here in Washington. But aside from that, it looks like they're moving forward with Chig Okonkwo being the number 2 receiving option here. They're lining him up pretty much everywhere, outside, inside the slot, in line as well. So I think Chig going over this mark for 2 years in a row, 3rd time in 5 years, makes a lot of sense. And I just feel like -115 odds at a 500 number feels way too low. And keep in mind, too, Craze, Caesars is the only book that's even offering any player prop season long on Chig.
Yeah, I like this. I have him for 528 yards currently, so definitely over that mark. Again, a guy I'm probably a little bit low on. I think that this Washington Commanders offense, maybe it doesn't go back where it was exactly 2 years ago, but it's definitely going to take a step forward with the health of Jaden Daniels. I think people forget. I was looking at the Madden rankings. You got Caleb Williams, 91 overall, all these guys, and Jerick May, 92 overall. And then all the way down the list is Jaden Daniels. People forget how good Jaden Daniels is. And I think that this offense can get back to that. Terry McLaurin is the wide receiver 1. I'm hoping that comes with a few more receptions than he's had in the past, and he can actually be a dominant guy. But then who's it going to be at wide receiver 2? Antonio Williams. It's not going to be one of the running backs out of the backfield. So a tight end in Washington should have a chance to step up. It's Chig's. Chig's the guy in this room. So I definitely like Chig a lot. Even when they're running the ball, it's not like they have an amazing running back in the backfield there. They're going to move the ball by throwing it. So when they're throwing it, you got Terry McLaurin, but you can't always only throw to Terry. They're going to find other options. And Chig has been good in Tennessee. I think this is the best landing spot it could have possibly been for him. And I like this line a lot as well. Yeah,
if you remember a couple years ago after his rookie season, people were taking him as like a top 10 tight end in dynasty startups, right? And it's kind of faded that hype from him just because he's really been stuck in Tennessee and not even, for the most part, been super fantasy relevant since then, right? Like he's been a guy, if you needed a streamer and your tight end one was on bye, you were throwing Chig in the lineup. But aside from that, he really hasn't done much. So he was a guy I cashed in a lot last year, betting his receiving yards a lot of those weeks of the season. So I'm going to continue to do so from a season-long standpoint here with Big Chig in 2026. And before we keep it moving, I wanted to remind y'all about Draft Night Out Online. I don't know about you guys, but every year someone says they're in the most competitive fantasy league, and then half the league stops setting lines by week 6. That's why I love what we're rolling out at Draft Night Out Online, draftnightout.com. Every league is a 12-team league on Sleeper. Every league's winner advances to a season-ending playoff challenge. And we got some legit prizes on the line, folks. Championship belts, trophy smack rings, a PlayStation 5, and Madden NFL 27 are on the line for the grand prize of the playoff challenge. Plus, Draft Night Online is not just about winning ships. No, it's also about giving back. We have right now a portion of every draft entry being directly donated to Mission 22. Support the veterans and their families. It's the same feel-good vibe you get at our in-person Draft Night Out event, but it's also happening right now at your convenience online. So if you think you have what it takes, head to draftnightout.com to reserve your spot today. And Craze, we are back up on the clock. And you have one of the more interesting bets, I think, out there right now, because it's a player I was expecting maybe see this line go a little bit down if he was sitting further out of training camp. He was back in action today after a contract extension from the Atlanta Falcons. And you think, hey, the books are still sleeping on arguably the best running back in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. Bijan Robinson, whatever you want to call him, whatever he wants to call himself.
I think we're back to Bijan, right?
We are back to Bijan now, but just, we'll switch it back and forth. Maybe we'll switch it up. We'll call him this episode. Next episode, we'll switch it up. At 1,150 and a half yards. What has Bijan done since he's came into the league? He's been great. Let's look at 2025. How many yards did he have on the ground? 1,400 yards. How many yards did he have on the ground in 2022 or 2024? 1,400 yards. I have him projected for 1,400 yards. I have him for 1,496. So I have him way over this line. When we're looking at, he's been super healthy. Maybe they're betting on that he gets hurt this season, misses a couple games. Mm-hmm. His quarterback situation has never been great. It's not going to be great this year, but the Falcons, outside of the right tackle, have a really good offensive line. Tyler Algier now in Arizona. They did bring in Brian Robinson, who I like as an NFL running back. He's not going to be the guy that comes in and takes away from Bijan. I don't think he's going to be more involved in the offense than Tyler Algier was. And with Tyler Algier, Bijan, he breaks big plays. Anytime he touches the ball, he could be an 80-yard play. He can break that. And then you're already like, oh my God, another 100-yard game. I think that's going to be, he's going to have to carry this offense. Because Tua, Michael Penix, whichever one it's going to be, they're both currently hurt and missing some time in practice. So I think that Bijan, he's the guy. He's elite. As you said, he just got his contract extension. So he's here to play. He's going to be in training camp. I think you got to get this line as soon as you can because I think that it is too low. And barring injury, I don't even see this as a line he can miss. If he plays 16, 17 games, this is a line that's definitely going to hit. And by far, like I said, I have him for 1496, 1150. Sign me up for that all day.
It feels like a big discrepancy, right? And you touched on the big part that, hey, Tyler Algier's not around. Gunshot B-Rob isn't the same type of player right now. And, Kevin Stefanski dating all the way back to, the Nick Chubb days, not afraid to feature his star running back. I mean, if he had a Kareem Hunt there and some guy of that type of talent, maybe he works him in a little bit more. Bijan Robinson just got paid. And like to your point, dude, like I've been fading the Falcons pretty much all offseason in the futures betting markets. I think they could finish last in the NFL as far as record. I think they're going to go under their season win total. The one thing I don't think is going to happen is Bijan Robinson is going to be a bad player this year, right? Because he really does have to carry this offense because Tua is, as you mentioned, hurt. Michael Penix Jr. is hurt. Jack Strand right now is the starter in Atlanta. This is a guy, shout out to my guy Thor Nystrom over on the Fantasy Pros NFL Draft Show this year. He shouted him out. He's an undrafted free agent, comes from Minnesota State Moorhead. The first time I heard about him, Thor and I were stuck in the O'Doul's airport trying to get down to Senior Bowl. So I think like with that situation, like it just makes like, the yards are going to be tougher for Bijan to come by. Like we can't say that, right? Like they're probably going to have to focus in on him a bit more. That might not have to respect the passing game. But at the same time, I trust Kevin Stefanski. I trust Bijan Robinson. 1,150 yards. If this was like even maybe 1,300, I would maybe think twice about it. But I think Bijan can lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns, and I think he needs yards to get himself there. So, Craze, I like that pick a lot, my friend.
Yeah, like I said, it's good Stefanski coming in. He brings that system that they had, a really good running system. Yeah. And you said that the Falcons, they may be bad this year. That's okay because even though running the ball normally is not the play that can get you back into a game, the Falcons are still going to have to rely on Bijan late in games that they're trailing because he can break the big plays. And then that's going to come up with, defenses are going to be playing a little bit prevent. He's going to get 10 yards here, 15 yards there while the Falcons are still trailing. So even though they project to be a bad team, they've been a bad team. Bijan will still get his work. And like I said, this is of my lines today. This is my favorite.
Okay. And speaking of players who will get theirs on bad teams, let's stay at running back. Quinshon Judkins. I'm going over 900.5 rushing yards, minus 106 at BetRivers. Look, this is just me adding a bottom rung to my Quinshon Judkins to lead the NFL in rushing ladder, right? Because the chances are that bet doesn't come through. So I want a little bit of an opportunity to get that cash back plus still profit on a good season from Judkins, right? Because this is a guy who averaged 59.1 rushing yards per game, the 22nd best in the NFL. And that was with no training camp coming into week 2. He left early a game against Buffalo as well, where his season ended. And even with those half games, he was on pace for 279 carries, the 7th most in the NFL. And like the Browns offense, man, it might be a little bit better, right? They actually got some receivers out there. Casey Concepcion, after a scare earlier this week, he is fine. Denzel Boston's out there working with Jerry Jeudy. The Browns also added 4 new offensive linemen. That should help. And they added fullback Michael Burton from Denver, right? And you look at what Derrick Henry did with Todd Monken on the sticks. He averaged over 300 rushing attempts per season, over 1,700 rushing yards as well. So for me, I think this is just Quinshon Judkins wheels up. Where do you have him in your projections, Craze?
I have him for 1,196 yards. So this is another one where I have a huge discrepancy. Dylan Sampson is the RB2 there. And we saw what the split was with the healthy Judkins and Sampson. And I don't really see that changing with Monken coming in. So I like Judkins a lot. I think he's a guy who is very good at running the ball. He was splitting time in college. I know some people were like, well, you can't come into the NFL and be a true RB1 when you're splitting in college. But when you're splitting with Travion Henderson, they both kind of played their own roles. I think that Judkins really proved everything. Like you said, no training camp last season. He just comes in and he's like, oh, I'm just better than everybody else around me. Who will be the quarterback in Cleveland? Again, similar situation to the Falcons. He's going to get it on a bad team. So I like this pick a lot.
Yeah, Quinshon Judkins, man. He is definitely someone, I've been excited to really see in the NFL since his freshman season down there at Ole Miss. He pushed Zach Evans, a former 5-star, out of that job and held it down there in Oxford for a couple of years before going up to Columbus. But had a big season. I didn't know if he would really translate to the NFL as seamlessly as he has. I was a little bit lower on him as a prospect just based on, some of that final film at Ohio State. But he's the real deal, man, and he's not messing around here. Did you get the Quinshon Judkins reference, Leroy Jenkins? Is that part of your time period at all? Do you know that video at all?
I do not.
Okay, after this show, that's your homework for next week, Craze. Go look up Leroy Jenkins. Do you know the I think it was RuneScape? Do you know the game RuneScape?
No.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. Well, we got some work to do. I think it was someone playing RuneScape or World of Warcraft, if you know what that is. And
I've heard of it.
and there's just a guy going around yelling Leroy Jenkins. It was one of the best, like early 2008, 2007 YouTube videos. Probably has 5 bajillion views at this point. So Leroy Jenkins.
I would have been 5 in 2000.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. Making me feel old. Speaking of feeling old, you're going back to the geezers and you're doing kind of something similar here that I was doing with my Judkins bet, where you have a bet on Matthew Stafford to lead the league in passing yards. But if he doesn't get there, you also have a lower rung that you think he can also, go over this line.
Yeah, exactly. So I did on a previous show talk about Matthew Stafford led the league last year in passing. What's to stop him from doing it again? The odds were great. And then we come over and I was looking at these props and I'm like, wow, 38.50. What would have to happen for Matthew Stafford to not hit that number? He'd have to get hurt. But luckily the Rams have, depending on who you like to listen to when it comes to offensive line rankings as a whole, I've seen the Rams line up as high as 3, as low as 9. So either way, depending where you're looking, maybe they have a top 5 offensive line in the league. Now, what does that do? It keeps Matthew Stafford upright. If Matthew Stafford has a minor injury, he's playing. That's what he's done his entire career. Little things have never held Matthew Stafford out. So unless for some strange thing he breaks a leg, anything like that, has a real serious shoulder injury, Matthew Stafford's going to be on the field. And when he's on the field, what does he get to do? Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, a great trio of tight ends that they've been getting involved in the passing game. The running backs can also both catch the ball. Jordan Whittington getting a little bit more involved now that Tutu Atwell's not going to be there. He had, again, 2025, 4,700 yards. 2024, the only year he did not make this in the past few years, 3,762, so less than 100 yards off. 23, 3,900. 22 was his year where he was hurt. 21, first year with the Rams, he had 4,900. And then even go back to 2020 when he was with Detroit, he had 4,100 yards.
Wow.
So look back at what has he done when he's healthy. He's hit this mark with Sean McVay. This offense will move the ball. They can run the ball as well, but the Rams in the toughest division in the NFL, they will throw the ball. They'll get Puka Nacua the ball. He can make moves. Devontae Adams will be scoring touchdowns. I have him projected for 4,400 yards. Obviously, I'm not going to project the 47, 48, 4,900 that he's had in the past.
Yeah.
I'll bring it down to 4,400 yards. And then he, like I said, he's a great distributor of the ball. He's super smart, and he works extremely well with Sean McVay. He doesn't have to be anything. He's a part of the Madden's 99 club this upcoming year.
Is he really?
Amazing
Wow.
for Matthew Stafford to get that because of his season last year. But I think that he can just be him, and he'll hit this mark. I don't really have too many questions. Again, like I said, it's going to take a very serious injury to keep Matthew Stafford off the field. And with the good offensive line in a system where he can get the ball out quick, I see him being a relatively safe option like he has been. He's a guy who gets injured all the time. And sure, he definitely has had his injuries, but he plays through most of them.
It's been a while, too.
And it's been a while. Like I said, 2022 was the last time where he missed significant time. And that's going back to 2020, and I think even further. So for me, I'm in on Matthew Stafford at this line. Do you like him at this line?
Yeah, it's super interesting because I think the books are like daring you to take this, because they're saying three things. They're saying A, old man Stafford's getting hurt, or they're saying B, with the Rams and the defense, Myles Garrett, potentially Aaron Donald returning, that they won't have to pass as much. But even with that, I know you probably have that factored into your projections, and you still have them, well over this, almost nearly by 600 yards. Or I think it's C, that they're saying, hey, the Rams are going to be in a super good position where late in the season, they're not going to have to play him and risk him getting hurt in the final week. But look, dude, this NFC is so dang competitive. You need that number one seed. There's only one bye now. There's less resting that's happening with these great teams. I know the Rams usually a more, trigger-friendly team into resting their starters, both in the preseason and late in the season when it matters. But either way, it would have to take one of those scenarios to really keep Stafford from going over this if he is on the field.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, maybe he misses, maybe he plays 16 games. Okay, well, let's look. What does Matthew Stafford do in 16 games? The same stuff, even going back to Detroit when there was only 16 games.
4,100 yards,
Then he was playing 15 games because he wasn't playing in the last game of the season. For me, Matthew Stafford, I think I think that they're not even like, the defense is going to get better for sure, but they're still going to have to score points.
It means more possessions for the Rams too, right?
Yeah, they'll run the ball. The play action will work even better. They should be a great team, again, in the best division in the NFL outside of the Cardinals, obviously, but three really good teams in this division. So I'm all in on this Rams team. I'm in on some Devontae Adams props as well. I see him super low. I just like buying into, we've seen them do it, and it's not like we've seen them do it once. We've seen them do it throughout their entire career, and this is just the perfect offense for everybody involved, really.
Yeah, and if you've been looking out there for a boost or a way to get invested with the Rams for maybe a Super Bowl ticket, parlay this with it if your book allows it, right? You're going to have to see, exactly which book. I think FanDuel is pretty friendly right now on allowing some of these season-long parlays. That might be a way to get invested. BetRivers is usually pretty good. So just kind of shift around those markets, keep your eye on a swivel for that. But I wouldn't mind going with a Rams Super Bowl ticket and getting it maybe closer to 7 or 8 to 1 because I have this Matthew Stafford over, 3,800 yards, because if they're going to the Super Bowl, it's going to be on the arm of this guy for sure. And a lot of agreement on the show. And it's not just because Stephen Lawson, Boston's boy, isn't here. It's just generally I think we are finding some really soft lines out there right now, folks. So love what we came to the market with today. One more for the road. And that's of course, Jared Goff over 4,500 passing yards, -121 at our friends from Pittsburgh, BetRivers. And again, same idea with the other bet I had on Quinshon Judkins. Same idea you had with Stafford. I have him to lead the league in passing. So I think we see something similar where Jared Goff easily crosses 4,000 passing yards as long as he's on the field, because 3 straight seasons, this guy's been runner-up for the most passing yards, averaged over 4,500 yards in that span, including last year where he didn't even have a real offensive coordinator. And nobody talks about it too, but Goff is kind of an Iron Man. He's played 4 straight seasons of 17 games. The Lions now have this super cakewalk schedule, 4th place schedule, 6th easiest strength of schedule. The defense has a ton of question marks, specifically in that secondary. Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, they're banged up. Roger McCreary, he's coming over from the Rams to play nickel. And then you have Terry Arnold, who just completely botched his entire career. He's a free agent now because of the off-the-field shenanigans. So I just think this offense is going to be a ton of fun. Montgomery's out of the picture. They do have Isaiah Pacheco, but I think it's a little bit less run heavy. They got new right tackle Blake Miller on the opposite side of Sewell. And then Amon-Ra's back ready to go. You also have J-Mo, who's fresh off the extension, coming off a career season. Sammy Ballgame back healthy by all accounts, plus Isaac Tesla, no longer a rookie as well. So for me, I'm not a huge fan of Drew Petzing, but Jacoby Brissett ranks 7th in passing yards per game last year in the league with him. So I just think it's wheels up on Jared Goff. This is just another leg of that ladder to get invested with the Lions and to get invested with Mr. Jared Goff himself.
Yeah, I think, as you said, we have a lot of agreement here. I put in my picks, and then you put in your picks, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go compare all of his picks to my projections, and we'll see where they line up. I was hoping at least 2 or 3 of them I was going to disagree. But again, this is another one. I have Jared Goff projected to be 2nd in the league in passing yards.
Oh, wow.
Behind only Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
So I have him at 4,300 yards. So again, well over this line. Like you said, with kind of a similar argument to Matthew Stafford here. Obviously, the system is not the same, but 2 teams with great offensive lines. And then let's look at who they're throwing the ball to. As you said, to me, Jameson Williams has been one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL since he's come in.
Thank you. I agree.
He was my wide receiver 1 coming out of that draft class with Chris Olave and all of them. I was really in on him.
That's a little spicy, but okay.
Obviously, this was back in college when he was the 12th.
Hey, as long as it wasn't Treylon Burks, I think that was the same class. You could have had a way worse take on that.
Yeah, no, it was a great wide receiver class. I just really like J-Mo. He's obviously had his share of the off the field stuff, but I think we moved on from that. He's matured a little bit. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Isaiah Teslock. He's coming in now to really emerge as that wide receiver 3. Sam Laporta healthy. And we didn't even talk about Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield. When you give this guy a screen, same with Bijan, he can break it 80 yards. So I really do love this offense as a whole. Now you said that they do get an offensive coordinator. And worst case, if that doesn't work out, we all know what's going to happen. They're a good old Campbell's going to come in. He's going to take over. He's going to call the plays, and this offense is going to move the football. Like you said, their defense, unlike the Rams, their defense is not good. They will have lots of holes. Teams will be scoring lots of points against them. And even when they're playing the bad teams, they're just going to run up the score because that's what the Lions do. I like this. I don't really have any concerns with Jared Goff's durability. I don't have any concerns with the offensive pieces around him. And I have no concerns that the coaching staff is going to push these guys to score as many points as they possibly can. And that'll be on Jared Goff.
Well, and then that's the thing, too, because Dan Campbell goes for it so much on 4th down. Those are extra possessions. Those are extra attempts for Jared Goff, right, that other players aren't getting. But because you got ballsy Dan Campbell out there just ripping them left and right on 4th down, that, he can steal a couple more possessions, get you some more yards out there. So, Craze, love all the picks it came with today, man. That is going to do it for us, though, on this episode of the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast. And if you've rode along with us this long, first of all, thank you so much for that. We really appreciate you putting up with us for the last 40 or so minutes. If you can do us a quick favor on your way out, give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe right here to the FSAN Fantasy Football Advice channel and the HQ channel so you don't miss any of our coverage across football, basketball, baseball, racing, and golf. Also, be sure to check out FSAN.com. We got dope written content and tools over there. For Craze, I'm Seth Wilcock. Thank you so much for watching, and keep it in between. Until next time.